Presuppositionalism is a stance that claims all knowledge, absolutely all of it, must start and end with God, that all knowledge is dependent on the existence of God. Sounds definitive, right? But it's just smoke and mirrors, a way to sidestep the fact that they have no evidence of anything. It starts with an answer and then looks for things to apply it to. You could claim that the only way to know anything is by extra-dimensional cats, but that doesn't make it true. A lame attempt to sidestep any rational examination by simply saying, you can't possibly have a reasonable epistemology without acknowledging a God. Presuppositionalists even acknowledge that their arguments are circular, but they argue that all reasoning is ultimately circular in some sense. You can't prove logic using logic. That's circular too, they say. But I beg to differ. I believe I have a far more rational starting point than relying on unsubstantiated God concepts, and it's not just a matter of logic. Before I even knew what logic was, I was using a basic epistemology, and I'd argue most people use something similar whether they realize it or not. 1. I exist. The very question, how do I know anything, requires the I. Without that, the question is meaningless. It's also the only statement I know of that I can't be wrong about. I'm either asserting that I exist and therefore I exist, or I'm not and it's irrelevant. This is the obvious starting point. 2. I have senses that appear to give me external data. My senses provide me with data, sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste, all of which suggest there is a reality outside of my mind that I interact with. It's an assumption, but one based on something tangible. 3. I seem to be able to sense an actual reality to at least some degree of accuracy. Before I could even pronounce epistemology, I learned that stoves burn, gravity hurts, and food relieves hunger. Over time, through empirical feedback, I built confidence that my senses are generally reliable. My senses give me information about the world, and that information corresponds to reality in ways that I can predict and test. Could I be living in a matrix or in the mind of a higher being? Sure. However, there's no reason to suggest that I am, and trusting empirical experience works. What this boils down to is that empirical feedback breeds confidence. Now let's compare the two. Presuppositionalism starts with the assumption that all knowledge must come from God. It's a non-negotiable presupposition, and any rejection of that is seen as irrational with no supporting argument. It doesn't engage with evidence or reasoning. It simply closes down the conversation by attacking reasoning itself. Well, logic can't prove logic, so what's the difference? They think it's a gotcha argument, but it's not. It's nonsense. My epistemology starts with a simple observable fact. I exist. I then move forward from that simple statement. I don't just jump to some ridiculous unsubstantiated conclusion. My understanding of the world is grounded in empirical experience and evidence, tested and refined over time. Unlike presuppositionalism, it allows for questioning and revision. If my understanding of the world doesn't match up with reality, I revise my model of reality. There's no unchallenged assumption, just a cautious process of learning and adapting based on evidence. At the end of the day, presuppositionalism isn't about understanding the nature of knowledge itself or the study of knowledge. It's about protecting a belief from challenge, a way to sidestep critical analysis by simply rebranding faith as epistemology. And while it might play well to their followers, it's really the epitome of, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with bullshit.